Now, Rory, I want to start the Daily Chelsea today by talking about the outgoings from your club. We'll talk about incomings in just a moment, but I've got a list here of all the names, quite long. So I'll read these out, and then I just want your opinion on a few. All right, out of these, I'm going to read all the names. I want you to pick the ones that you would actually rather stayed at Chelsea. Okay, we've got Edouard Mendy, Mason Mount, Koulibaly, Loftus-Cheek, Kante, Havertz, Babarahman, Azpilicueta. And then I've got a few question marks. Oh, Kovacic as well. He's gone. And a few question marks on some of these. Lukaku, doesn't like he's coming back. Ziyech failed a medical. I mean, that's been ongoing for ages. And then Pulisic has been heavily linked with a move away. So out of those players, which are you disappointed to see go?
Three.
Who are
Only
they?
three. That three isn't a lot considering how many names you read out there.
I'm just counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. With the question marks as well, that is 12 players.
So three out of 12.
Which of them?
The three that I'm sad to see leave, for varying reasons, are Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mateo Kovacic and Mason Mount.
I'm really... Okay, I can get Mount.
Yeah.
I can get Kovacic. Loftus-Cheek, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's room for... I think every club needs a Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You need a player that is never in the headlines, somebody who loves the club, understands the club. He's been at the club since he was 8. You know, he's been at the club for 20 years. He will always do a job wherever asked. He will play wherever asked. He's never a problem. He is the consummate professional and somebody who you need to have around, I think. Look, don't get me wrong. I think, sadly, Ruben Loftus-Cheek is probably not good enough to play for Chelsea anymore, particularly if we are going to be the club that we want to be. But it's important to remember that there really is a player there. He was so unlucky in 2019. Chelsea played a friendly during the season. We went over to Boston to play a friendly just before we played Arsenal in the final of the Europa League. And he got a knee injury and he's never been the player that he was that season. He was really good. He would have started in the final in Baku. You know, and people seem to not talk about that enough. Chelsea beat Arsenal 4-1 in a European final. It's huge. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek would have been at the epicentre of that. He would have started that game. But he was robbed of that opportunity for a needless friendly.
Yeah, and like a lot of Chelsea players last season, he was moved around a lot he was playing right wing back, he was playing in the centre of midfield. But he's off, as we know. I want to ask you about the goalkeeper situation, Rory. I know it's one of your favourite topics. Mendy's gone. Now, it's looking like the rumours are that Kepa's going to stay as number 1 and that Chelsea will bring in another number 2. I can already see the disappointment on your face. That surely is the wrong move.
Can I try and do something which I'm not famed for? Can I try and employ a level of critical thinking here? Which isn't my forte, but I'm going to try.
I'm nervous about this.
No, because I know that that's the headline. I know that that's what we've been told. But what I'm going to try and do is read beyond the headline and understand the nuances of the media and the media's relationship with football clubs.
Ever since you've been on Transfer Insiders.
No, yeah, I know, it's gone to my head. It's completely gone to my head. No, but the reason why this topic in particular has lent some impetus for me to feel this way is because the words that you've just said very articulately, that Kepa Arrizabalaga will be Chelsea's number 1 going into the new season and Chelsea will look to sign a number 2, they simply can't be true. They can't be, it cannot be the case. And therefore, we have a responsibility to try and dissect exactly what's going on.
Okay, why can't they be true?
It can't be true because he's not a good enough goalkeeper. It can't be true because we now have years of data to explore where Kepa Arrizabalaga has proved to us beyond any doubt that he is so out of his depth being number 1 in a Premier League team. So it can't be true that he is going to be our number 1. There is absolutely no way that Mauricio Pochettino can have looked at the performances of Arrizabalaga over the last 2 years, we'll call it, and has concluded that he is the number 1 going into the new season. Like, it's impossible. Therefore, something else must be going on here, and this is my theory. He's an asset. He's worth a lot of money. How much money is up for debate? Chelsea paid 70 million quid for him. So we need to look to recoup some of that money. We need to look to bolster his fee that he would command. And the way that you do that isn't by saying he is surplus to requirements, we're looking to sign a new number 1. Because what that does immediately, it scraps any fee that you could get for Arrizabalaga. It immediately makes it totally unpalatable for any club to pay any kind of money. And let's face it, I don't rate him. I don't think he's good enough to play for Chelsea. I don't think he's good enough to be a Premier League goalkeeper, really. But he'll still command a fee. He's still potentially a £30 million goalkeeper.
Still quite young.
Still quite young. Still got potential. I mean, he's a Champions League winner, you know.
So just quickly, to put it completely simply, then you're essentially saying that Chelsea potentially, if the rumours are true, could potentially be going into next season starting Kepa just because of how much he was.
Should we explore a world where he starts for Chelsea?
Yes.
Okay, there's a ceiling then for how Chelsea's season can go.
How well would they
say it goes really well. Say Pochettino lands and he suddenly Conor Gallagher becomes Dele Alli of that Tottenham team, and somehow Lukaku, if it is Lukaku, which I really hope it isn't, but if it is him, he becomes the Harry Kane of the... And it really goes well. If Arrizabalaga is a goalkeeper, the very best that it can go, if it goes perfectly in every other position, if Arrizabalaga is your goalkeeper, you'll finish 5th. That's assuming... You know the old Ferguson thing, a good goalkeeper's worth 10 points?
Yeah.
Arrizabalaga is worth -3 points.
Was it... Do you really think his last... I know he's...
I think he's the worst goalkeeper in the league.
The whole league.
I genuinely believe he's the worst goalkeeper. Like, you could throw some random ones out there. Like, you could start talking about random goalkeepers that maybe you could argue would be better. That Kepa Arrizabalaga would be better than. But if we're comparing to like starting goalkeepers in the Premier League, I think he is the worst.
The worst.
I don't know who's worse than. I really don't. And Edouard Mendy, our other goalkeeper, is then worse than him.
Would you have rather have seen Kepa leave or Mendy leave?
I think they both have to leave. Look, I could live in a world where Arrizabalaga is number 2. I could just about understand that. I don't think he's good enough to play, but I think he's probably good enough to be backup goalkeeper, hoping that he never plays, and certainly good enough to play League Cup games or whatever. But if Arrizabalaga is your number 1 going into a new season, your new season is over before it's begun.